Sup Shredders, my name is Logan aka Spiderhands and welcome to an SP Reviews where today we have ourselves a track by an act named Violet Wish titled Shield of Glass. And if we switch over to here, we have ourselves a track on the screen and we're going to listen through it from start to finish and we're going to hear what we think. Let's go! I like the sound of the piano in this.
I know with time, everything changes. Life is a fragile thing, and love's not a title. So if you go, and I don't surface, just know I've been here before. It's a cycle.
I like the fact that we're not just relying on the vocals being in the center of the stereo field, the double tracking on the sides sounds really organic and kind of unique. And the piano line has a great unison with the melodies there. It's just really, it's intriguing.
A door gets closed, another one opens. I'll be here waiting for the right to enter. But darling, no, if I don't surface, I didn't know where to go. And I'm so tired. So I'll send my love, all I can give. I'll see you when I'm sleeping.
And guitars as well. It's actually really well laid.
I'll hold my own. All that I love won't find a way to end me. I know with time, everything changes. Life is a fragile thing, and love's not a title. So if you go, and I don't surface, just know I've been here before. It's a cycle. A door gets closed, another one opens. I'll be here waiting for the light to enter. But darling, no, if I don't surface, I didn't know where to go. And I'm so tired.
And that I'm so tired part with the strings and drums and guitar and everything having been built up, it's just so elegant. That's the end of the track. It's just done. And this is the conclusion of my review of this track from an act named Violet Wish, titled Shield of Glass. Now, what do I think this track is about? I do think it sounds like a breakup song. You get the impression that we are, going through cycles of being in love and, having that loss of the person coming away from us. And it can be incredibly tiring. I'm sure a lot of people listening to this will be able to relate to that. It's heartfelt and compelling because the way that it's delivered from the singer is just so... There's just this... It's so gentle, but you can tell they're tired. And there's never sort of a verbose intensity to it. It's very conversational, very down to earth. We're not trying to sort of soar over top of it. It's very much a rendition of their experience they're having within that situation, and it comes down from the depths. And honestly, again, I love the interchanging of these side vocals, double track parts there where they kind of surround the headphones, going back into the center with the I'm so tired part, where it's kind of like a radio filter where our thoughts are swirling around in our head. I think that it adds a sense of real kind of wonderment because you have that for a lot of the track, just that and the keys. And the piano motif at the start, the idea we have there with the sort of the chords in the minor key there, it resists a sense of complacency because we have some interesting major turns within the harmony at one of the tail ends there that kind of is surprising whenever it comes in, because it just, you know what I mean. We could have just stayed with a kind of a sad sort of motif there, but I think the changes with the harmonies kind of make it seem like we're aware that it's not just all completely dire and dreadful. We are aware it's a cycle and that we will come out of it. But just, I think that the vocals, the way that they've notched the melodies and the main sort of parts of it, sync well with the rest of the backing and sort of suit the overall themes of the storytelling to a T. And it's very promising. I think that we can do a lot with less than a lot of other musicians and artists that I work with. We're not oversaturating things for the sake of retaining attention. Again, we're telling a story, and for a lot of it, there's just the keys and the vocals. And sure, if we switch to the actual composition here, we have guitars and strings and keys and just the chord note movement, or like the quarter half note movement there of the drums with the kick. And as we move forward, that's as much as we get within this 3-minute track. It's got a sort of I don't know if it's through composed or if it's got like verses and choruses and stuff like that. Either way, a story is fleshed out within it. The transitions between sections are seamless, and the music, the way it's written, the ideas we have there, it's one of those very rare experiences where the vocals are so compelling. I think partly because you have 30 to 40 seconds at the start of just the piano by itself. But because we're not giving the listener everything at once, we really are in a situation or a position where we can literally just enjoy having, again, not a whole lot of change with the different chords, like harmonies and melodies. Like, we're not having kind of crazy tails or anything like that with the key lines there. We're not necessarily needing to sort of switch things up with the note choices. The guitars, with the way they're strummed there, is very sort of like, again, subtle, switch to the sides. And any sort of like strings in the low end just add a sense of like weight and sort of dimensionality to it. It's not like we're trying to color the harmonies further or the overall sort of ornament, the sort of track itself. And then the kick is just that constant moving forward there. It's really not a lot more than that. It's simply just saying life has to go on, even if it's a cycle. But you get back to the filtering, the way the vocals are just kind of there with the piano kind of like all in that mid to high range there with the lows removed. And it's just the I'm so tired part. It loops nicely neatly into itself. It never overplays. And quite honestly, it's very well written. I don't think the track would have been improved by adding more than this, which is testament to the way that we've managed to sort of stack things from an arrangement perspective. And I think we knew the length we needed for this track, and it was fleshed out well with no filler and not a note out of place. The theme itself, I know I've probably spoken about this earlier, but on top of the instrumental performance and the way the vocals could have seg and coalesce with those, it is sad because we're talking about a relationship with those minor chords and stuff. But again, those major lifts occasionally even things out and show a sort of a roundness and a maturity there, an understanding of the situation, more of an acceptance of the fact that we've got a bit of a shit lot at the moment, but we're trying to sort of come out of that and focus on moving forward into a better place, even if we are just tired. We're just tired of having to sort of have to struggle through that, We enjoy taking that risk and like allowing that person with us, but we just hate when it falls apart. I think that it's an incredibly difficult thing to sort of do differently than a lot of other musicians have done before. I think just, again, the relative minimalism of the composition with the instrumental layers, combined with the interesting sort of vocal lines, combined with the harmonies there and the movement of the vocals and the post-production, for example, just it makes it unique. The studio recording, mixing and mastering is stellar. I'm really sort of satisfied with the way that the vocals sound. It's not the cleanest vocal take in regards to the actual recording quality of it. I think that's done deliberately. It almost sounds like we're going through a radio filter or something like that. There's a nice sort of crispiness to the tone of that, which makes it almost sort of feel nostalgic and like it's an old school recording, which I kind of think makes sense, because especially if we're looking at the past, to go back is kind of part of the deal with this. So, tonally, orally, aesthetically, it's fine. The keys as well are nice and full sounding though. The guitars and the strings are great too, and the drums are almost kind of a little bit sort of like deader than I would necessarily expect. Like there's less high end on those kicks than I was initially expecting, but I think if they had been too bright, it would have sort of juxtaposed a lot of the sort of murkier elements of it, simply because of the difficulties we're going through with what we're discussing. Things were nicely leveled in the stereo field, and the frequency spectrum, though, There were no errors with like filtering, EQing, or anything like that. No weird resonant frequencies. Again, as I mentioned a few times today, and I know I'm potentially repeating myself to a detriment, but the vocals going backwards and forwards was really dope, and I think that was a deliberate, production decision that paid off here. It does make it more intriguing and compelling to hear because you're following it around and wondering what it's going to do next. It's exciting, despite the fact stuff we're talking about kind of, but it was nice and loud with that pumping still, and there was sufficient dynamic range. Things were not the same loudness all the time. Again, those higher range sort of filtered vocal parts where they were talking about being tired, we sort of like, again, it just becomes a little bit sort of like smaller, and then boom, we're done at the outro. Such a clean finish. I mean, this is a spectacular track. I think it's a really promising first impression to Violet Wish. And, that's my review of their track, Shield of Glass, and hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please go show them some love via the various social medias and the YouTube page, and stay cool and stay safe. And please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as they help more than ever with all the crazy stuff going on in the world. And I'll catch you in the next review. Spiderhands out.